Again, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us. As you all know, these meetings, and I know there are some new people on right now on. These meetings are every fourth Wednesday of the month, except for November and December that we don't meet. Those days are close to the holidays. So basically, we meet 10 times a year, fourth Wednesday of the month. As a reminder, these meetings, we try to provide you updates on different issues regarding research administration, new policies, and so on and so forth, university policies as well as sponsor policies. But really, this time is your time to ask your questions from experts from different departments and different central units, and also your colleagues who are in departments. They might have a good way of dealing with an issue that you are facing, and this is a good time for exchanging information. I see right now there are more than 170 people on the Zoom right now. So let's start. We would start with the presentations. Remember, you have been hearing from our accounting regarding transfer, moving from Kuali to Oracle. Mario and Francisco, I know Francisco has an update. Mario, did you want to say anything? Or maybe James is here too. James is in FDP. He was trying to attend. I see him there. James, do you have any updates to start with? Your microphone is off.
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't find. I'm sorry, everyone. I'm coming to you from DC. I'm between hotels right now, so hopefully you can hear me.
Yes.
Okay. I had just a couple of things. I'm not sure if Mario has joined. We ran into a little bit of an issue this morning, but Mario, if you're there, if you want to chime in. I had a couple of things just to remind everyone of as we're coming up on fiscal close. Just what we do every time, just with a little added emphasis this time that with the Aggie Enterprise Initiative coming, we're going to need to, hopefully do things even better than in the past. So number one is, of course, that we need you to clear off your overdrafts. Any overdrafts, any true overdrafts will be moved off to your dean's office accounts, and then, they'll have to cover those, that budget amount. When I say true overdrafts, that means you don't have an amendment or something in process where additional funding will come in that will actually get the project, fully funded. So that's the one thing. The other thing is, in a couple of weeks, right after the May ledgers close, we will be sending you all a list of your open sub-agreements so that you can review that list and determine if you need to make any accruals associated with those projects. The threshold is $10,000. So if you've got $10,000 that pertains to this current fiscal year because the sub either hasn't billed or maybe there's an invoice in process that just hasn't been posted, well, in that case, go ahead and get that invoice paid and booked into the fiscal 23 ledgers. But in cases where you're not going to be able to actually book the expense, then you'll want to do the accrual voucher. But please, we'll put a reminder again in the email, but we need you to please not post to the June prelim. It needs to go to the June final. We'll try to catch any of those that try to sneak through, but that causes us some problems because it looks like when we're doing our cash draws, it looks as if we've got expenses to cover. So those were a couple of things to mention. And I think I saw a chat comment come in, but again, I'm on my phone and I don't usually do this on my phone, so I'm having a hard time finding.
James, your microphone went off. The chat says that
I'm pushing.
Can you see that?
I can't find the chat. Can you just tell me what it says?
Let me read it to you. It says when
to the dean's office.
Okay, good.
I'm sorry?
When will overdrafts be moved to the dean's office?
Oh, it's one of the final steps of the CGA fiscal close process. So that's like Francisco, help me, maybe like July 20th. We haven't nailed down our internal calendar yet, but mid to late July.
Yes. It's basically after the June prelim.
Yeah, but remember, departments will only have access to fiscal 23 up until, that first week or so of July. And there was a notice that went out from the finance office with the general fiscal calendar, so you can review those dates.
James, there might be some new people in departments and all of that, maybe even in my office. They might not know why these charges are, you guys move them to the dean's office. I want to make sure that people know that accounting doesn't do it just because they want to do it. It's the policy of university. If you go to PPM 330-31, it's PPM 330-31. It would tell you what's the responsibility of the PI, the chair, the dean, and so on and so forth. In one section of it, it says that if there are charges on the account and the sponsor doesn't pay, then the PI and the chair are responsible for that. If they can't pay, then the dean has to pay for that. It's just that's the reason for these transfers. Is that why you do it, James?
Yeah, that's certainly a big part of it. I think really from the accounting perspective at year end, that's where we are really trying to abide by the matching principle of getting our expenses and our, into the appropriate accounting period. So if we do not accrue those expenses into fiscal 23, then we are not matching our income and our revenue correctly. So it's both a month. I mean, the policy that you're referring to is really an ongoing thing where really throughout the year, we sometimes will move overdrafts, but at the end of the year, we absolutely, it's a must at that point that we need to clear the overdrafts out.
Great.
I do have a quick follow-up question about that. Hi, I'm Damaris. I asked the question about that. Does this apply to awards that already ended, or is it like awards that are ongoing and just have overdrafts?
It's both. It's anytime that you have more expense than we anticipate we're going to receive funding for. So if you have a 1-year award for $100,000 and it's ended or not, if you've spent more than $100,000 on it, we're going to move that excess off. If, on the other hand, it's an NIH award where you're going to get $100K a year for the next couple of years, we know that there's more money anticipated to be coming in. That's where we will put in what we just call a temporary budget that will allow us to not push those what appear to be overdrafts off to the dean's office because we know that more money is actually in the pipeline. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay. I'm just wondering because we have like a lot of accounts here at the Cancer Center where they're managed by other departments as well. So just wanted to make sure, like, if we need to, I usually wait until the award is kind of getting towards an end to kind of tell people you need to move certain money off. But I guess we're just gonna rush it and tell them to move it now.
Yeah, and folks should be, I mean, this is an annual process that folks that have been around a little while will be familiar with. I should point out to your point, we move the overdraft off at the fund or project overall award level. So we basically would be taking, if you've got a bunch of different departments involved and they have a bunch of little overdrafts, those all get added up and would be moved off actually into the School of Medicine Dean's office account.
James, you have another question. Do we work with fund managers to get the temporary badges appropriated to the industry-funded clinical trial accounts that are in overdraft?
No, we take care of all of this in contracts and grants accounting. Those over, no. We won't recognize those as true overdrafts because we know that the industry clinical trials are going to work a little differently than our typical projects.
Any more questions for James regarding end of the year activities? If not, Francisco, do you want to go next?
Yes, I'll share my screen so I can control the slides.
Okay.
Let's see. Good morning, everybody. Maybe you're going to be upset after my presentation, and I sympathize with you because suddenly out of the blue, you're going to have a period of time where you might not be able to get some work done in contracts and grants. Okay, so the title of the presentation is Cut Over to Aggie Enterprise, Contracts and Grants, Critical Dates. Okay. First of all, the purpose of this presentation is to communicate to the Research Administration Forum attendees the cutover calendar dates that will affect activities associated with post-award administration of contracts and grants. Okay, and remember, post-award. As a result of that, proposals are not affected by this migration because that is pre-award. So we're talking here about the activities that are done once the contract is fully executed. Okay. And one of the reasons for this is that it does take time to migrate the information to Aggie Enterprise. With reference to new awards, the last day for UCD Office of Research and A&R contracts and grants to send CGA documents is November 17, 2023. Okay. Documents will be sent to CGA to be processed by November 20, 2023. You seem to think, oh, there are 3 days. That's a lot of time. It happens that 2 of those days are a Saturday and a Sunday. Okay? CGA will do its effort to get all of those processed. But if the award has some issue, it might not get loaded. What kind of issues are we talking about? We're talking about issues that maybe the amount of the award that appears in the contract is not consistent throughout. Okay. Or there are some other items in the contract that need to be clear of before setting it up. Any questions? Okay. CGA will not have access to the screen needed to set up or modify award as of 11/20/2023 at 8 p.m., 8:30 p.m. So therefore, any documents that come in cannot be processed, okay? Because we will not have access to the system. Departments will be notified to create expense accounts. This should be completed, including the approval, by November 21st, 2023 at 8:30 p.m. Why is that? Is that when we migrate from Kuali to Oracle, the award becomes an award in Oracle. And each of the expense accounts becomes a project in Oracle. So therefore, those awards that in Kuali that do not have an expense account, there is no way for Oracle to determine the project, and as a result, will not be migrated.
Hey, Francisco, can I? Yeah, let me just, I just kind of want to go back to your opening comment. I just want to make it clear that these dates that you're going to be sharing and timeline, this is really, this is not CGA independently deciding here we have this cutoff and that cutoff. These cutoffs are really being driven by the overall transition plan, with all of the various modules having really hard, stop dates and trying to work off of those. I just want to kind of put that out there just to get ahead of folks who might be saying, wait a minute, we need some more, we're going to need some more time. I feel the same thing. We're going to need a lot of really focused effort as we work through this crazy crunch period. But it's good that you're getting this out there so folks have that awareness of what is on the plan.
And as James mentioned, this is not a one-sided decision. This is a multi-sided decision that had to be done, because the migration to Oracle is not just you take Kuali and dump it in. No, there is a lot of conversion going on, because Oracle functions very different than Kuali. It might have the same features, but the way that they interrelate are different.
Francisco, are you going to answer questions as we go along? You might want to look at the chat. There is a comment from School of Medicine which has a wrong date in that. Maybe you want to comment on that, please.
Okay, let me check the commentary in chat.
Maybe you want to read it for the recording too, please.
Okay. Is this the comment from Elizabeth Bank?
Yes.
Okay. On the School of Medicine side, we were notified that there was an account setup freeze where departments are not allowed to set up new accounts 5/31/2023. However, the slide show departments are allowed to create expense accounts till 11/21/23. Please kindly provide clarification. The School of Medicine is very particular because they're doing two things. They're actually also implementing another a system that will communicate with Oracle. Okay, and I'm sorry, Elizabeth, I will have to go back to them and ask why they have that date, and I'll clarify that for you. Okay, but right now I don't have an answer because it might be due to their other migration that they're going to be doing. Okay.
Francisco, this is Erica.
Yes.
Just interrupting. I am pulling the communication that was sent out, and I will answer Elizabeth's question in chat.
Okay.
With the dates.
Okay. Thank you, Erica.
Got
Very
it.
kind of you. Then Linda asked if a new award doc will be sent to CGA on November 20th. Will it be possible for CGA to set up the fund in KFS, and the account manager will set up the expense account and get it fully approved by November 21st? It's going to be very hard. CGA will try, but it might not be possible. Okay? We can work through it, and in a future slide, I'm going to give some alternatives that can be done. Okay? Linda, do you have any additional questions? Okay. We'll move on. Okay. What?
Francisco,
Yes.
I have a quick question for you from the awards side of processing the awards.
Yes.
Is it better to have the award established prior to the changeover or after the change?
It would be better to have it before the change, okay? Because
Okay,
that
so
will migrate information and it'll be ready and available in Oracle.
So the one thing I want to bring up for everybody, it's going to be really critical that we get everybody's help for their compliance issues, because often we're holding getting an award established because we're waiting for COI or, you know, various reasons of things that we need for compliance. And so we're going to need everybody's help so that we can get those issued and not have those held up.
Thank you for bringing that up. And like James pointed out, this has to be a concerted effort, not only by CGA and the departments, but also with the Office of Research, with the PIs, and the various entities that are involved in getting an award fully executed.
Let me make a comment on that, Francisco, and also referring to what Marlene said. Well, the operation of sponsored programs would go on as usual. All of these dates that Francisco is talking about are going to affect what happens after we have finished everything in our office. So I am a little bit concerned if suddenly on the November 20th, we get all of these compliances that Marlene was talking about, and the expectation associated with that be that sponsored programs would finish everything. If suddenly in the last day, everything comes in, there is no guarantee that the process would finish in sponsored programs. We go as usual, we go forward based on the documents we have, based on the awards we have, and we process, we complete our processes timely. What would happen after that is not going to be in control of anybody, basically, as Francisco explained it. It just, if any project hits those timelines that Francisco is talking about, and he's going to explain more, if those timelines come in, there is not a whole lot anybody can do about it. Francisco?
Okay, thank you, Ahmad. Okay, what actions could you take to lower the impact of this? Okay, if an award can be sent to CGA on or prior to November 17, 2023, and projects activities start before January 3rd, 2024, and January 3rd, 2024 is the first day that our Aggie Enterprise will go live to the campus, you can process a request to set up an advance account on or before November 17th. Okay? If not able to process an advance account, expenses should be charged to a department account. When Aggie Enterprise goes live, then department will transfer the expense to the new award. Okay? CGA will not become the bad guy saying, no, you cannot transfer. There is a good justification here for you to be able to transfer the expense. Okay, but that doesn't mean that you're going to wait a whole year to do it. Okay? Then, if a project starts on or after January 3rd, 2024, then it might not be necessary to set up an advance account. Department should request CGA to get priority to the award setup in those cases. Okay? Because remember, it's not only you in the department that are not able to work. It's also CGA that is going to be with his hands tied. James negotiated with the people in IT that once the system is up and running, CGA will have, even if it is not January 3rd, 2024, CGA will be allowed to start loading information. Okay? But that depends how fast the conversion goes. Okay? And remember, in between we have Thanksgiving and the holiday break. Okay? Now, what happened with amendments is the same date. Amendments have to be in by November 17, 2023. CGA will not be able to process any amendments after November 20th, 2023. If an amendment in Kuali requires to set up a new account, the department should set it up and have it approved by November 7th. You have an award and you know that it's a multi-year award. Set up the accounts ahead of time and have them approved. That way, they will migrate to Oracle. If an account is set up in Kuali, even if it doesn't have a budget, it will be migrated to Oracle, and they'll put a $1 budget on it. Because remember, Oracle has the requirement that it must have a budget. Otherwise, no expenditures can be processed. Okay? So when we migrate that new expense account, if it doesn't have a budget, it will not stop the process. It will be set up in Oracle with a $1 budget. Then when the amendment comes in, the budget will be appropriated and everything will go on. It's normal. Any questions about this? If an amendment process after November 17, 2023 requires a new account, the department should use the existing account to post expenditures. After the new project is set up, then the department can transfer expenses. Subawards to other institutions. The last day is the same. It's December. In this case, I'm sorry, it's not the same. It's a little bit different because when we give subawards to other institutions, we do not use the part of contracts and grants in Kuali. We use the part of supply chain or purchasing. And therefore, the date that has been stipulated for that is December 12, 2023. Documents will be sent to CGA to be processed by December 12, 2023. CGA will not have access to the screen needed to set up or modify subawards, MPAs, the following day, 12/13/23 at 8:30. So therefore, if you are going to have an amendment or something and you can speed it up, please do so. Remember, if you can. Documents received in CGA after that date will be processed in Aggie Enterprise when it goes live. Action step. If a subawardee submits an invoice during the period of December 13, 2023 and January 3rd, 2024, it will have to be processed in Aggie Enterprise after it goes live. Okay, one moment. I just received in chat a comment.
That was just me answering Elizabeth,
Oh, okay. Thank you, Erica.
clarifying the dates.
Okay. If a subawardee submits an invoice during the period December 13, 2023 and January 3rd, 2024 that hasn't been set up, the department should send an email to CGA in order for the subaward to be given priority in setting it up. Let's assume that Wisconsin University sends an invoice to your department on December 20th. Okay. And the subaward hasn't been set up yet. You should let CGA know that you have that invoice in order for it to be given priority in setting it up. Why that? Why can't they just wait? Remember, uniform guidance stipulates that the prime awardee has to pay within 30 days of receiving the invoice. And we're trying to maintain compliance at its maximum. even if we're going through a transition. We have to do our best effort. Contracts and grants transfer. Department and CGA will be allowed to process expense transfer till January 4th, 2024. But the GEC, and in the case that it's done through a JV, has to be fully approved by 6 p.m. that day. Whatever is not fully approved will not be processed. Okay, now you're asking why transfers are allowed to be so late. The reason is that the data for the month of December specifically will only be migrated to Oracle after the close of the month of December, which occurs the first 6 working days of January. So that's why that is GCs and JVs are allowed till that day. Okay. Payment requests. Department and CGA will be allowed to process payment requests till December 13, 2023 at 8:30 p.m. Payment requests have to be fully approved. And here I have an inconsistency till 6 p.m. It should be 6 p.m. on the top part. Initially, it was okay, and then they said, no, we're turning off that access at 6 p.m. And I only corrected one. Payment requests after December 13, 2023 will be processed in Aggie Enterprise after it goes live. Disbursement vouchers. Disbursement vouchers are payments that are done for which there is technically no invoice. Here, they stretched the time further, and they said it was December 21, 2023, and the same mistake I made here. They have to be, it should be 6 p.m. And I will correct the presentation before sending the definite copy to Perry. Disbursement vouchers will have to be fully approved by December 22nd, 2023 at 6 p.m. Disbursement vouchers after December 21st, 2023 will be processed in Aggie Enterprise after it goes live. An emergency process has been set up in case a payment is required during the period of December 22nd, 2023 in Aggie Enterprise going live. In this case, the department should contact AP for the details. Okay. What are some of the suggestions? Departments might want to notify sub-awardees of impending UCD migration to Aggie Enterprise and request that invoices be submitted. I put tentatively there December 8th to give the department time to process the invoices. Remember, invoices from sub-awardees require the signature of the PI. So it will take you some time. If not, invoices will be paid in January. Department should determine if advances to sub-awardees will need to be processed during the cutover period and process them at the beginning of December 2023. There are some cases where we give a sub-award to another institution and we give them an advance payment. That's what I'm referring to in this point. Process all cost transfer as soon as possible after these are identified and approved. Okay. I have to, like if I'm in a department and I detect that there is a cost transfer, follow through all the way and have it done and out of the way. I know that in the case of the department, you people are being pressured by multi-sites. So therefore, just keep that in mind. if an award has a final invoice or financial report due in December 2023 or January 2024, try to request an extension for the submission of this document. If approved by the sponsor, should copy Office of Research and CGA. There are cases, and this has been more frequently recently, where departments have had to ask for an extension in the submission of the final invoice or the financial report, and they have received approval to do it that way. Okay? And this came about with a comment that made things very uncertain. As Jamie indicated, clear overdrafts. Okay? We should try to clear the overdrafts before the fiscal close. And the reason is that if there is an overdraft that hasn't cleared, that award will have to be migrated to Oracle. Okay? And if it doesn't have to be migrated to Oracle, let's do it. Let's try to do it. Clear encumbrances associated with POs that are no longer required. If there is a PO and it has a balance of $50, just clear it. Just request to clear them. Clear encumbrances of sub-awards that have ended and have been completely invoiced. This is not a job that is done by the department. That clearance of the encumbrance is done by CGA. So could you please let the fund manager in CGA know about it? Expire all contracts and grant expense accounts that are no longer needed. Okay? That is to make sure that even if the account has to be migrated to Oracle, because the award is still active, no expenses can post to it. Each award fund that hasn't been closed, that means that the close code is not this. And I'm going to explain what is that close code, will be migrated to Aggie Enterprise as an award. And all the expense accounts, including Expire 1, as projects. Okay, so if you have an award A, and it has maybe 9 expense accounts, that will become in Oracle Award A with 9 projects, even if some of those projects have already been closed. Why do we have to do it that way? Why do we have to migrate closed accounts? Is that PPA in Oracle wants the total information of the award. He just doesn't want, oh, these are the active accounts. It wants the whole history. And that's why we have to migrate all the accounts. Reimbursement invoices for expenses that posted in December 2023 will be processed in Aggie Enterprise in 2024. Okay. So you will continue working with accounting as you have done for many years. But those expenses that you put in the ledger in December 2023 will be invoiced in January 2024. Okay. There is no need to rush in posting those in November. CGA will set up a cost share project for each award that has committed cost share. Okay. So if you have an award 1, 2, 3, 4, and it has committed cost share, we'll set up, once we are live in Oracle a project for you to enter that information or cost share. Okay? If then after we go live, all the cost share expenses should be posted to that cost share project. There will not be any migration of the data that is in the present cost share system, because the present cost share system shares the information with the general ledger, and there is a risk of duplicating entries. Now, what is this magical close code? When an award is fully closed, CGA changes something within Kuali that is called the GL close code. That means once all the overdrafts has been cleared, when it has rebudgeted, when the expenditures accounts have been cleared and closed, expired, they will change this parameter here. And instead of ending in S, it will end in C. And this parameter is vital for the migration to Aggie Enterprise, because we'll migrate all the awards where the close code is this, the one that ends in S. If you have additional questions or commentaries, you can send them to the following email addresses. You can call me or send me an email, or to Valerie Cruz or Stephanie Mata, and we will answer your question. Remember, the success of this migration to Aggie Enterprise is a joint effort of all the parties that are involved. I think it's a good system. It has a lot of benefits for the university in its operations. And remember, this is a system that we are migrating using basic parameters. In the future, it can be made more sophisticated and can do much more. But the first goal is, let's get the migration in Oracle, start operating in Oracle, and then we can see what other things can be done. Thank you for your time. And I'm sorry for the mistake on the dates. I will correct them and send a copy to Perry with the right hours. And then you can access the presentation.
There's a question in the chat asking if the slides would be shared. As Francisco said, once we get the update, I would send them using our list there, so you would see it then.
Okay. And there is in the chat another email that you can use for questions is efa@ucdavis.edu. Okay. Ashley Carr, what did you refer about December 21st or December 22nd? Could you refresh my memory?
So for the DVs, there was kind of the lines didn't match. Some of them said the 21st and some of them said the 22nd.
Okay. Let's go back there. Okay. You're correct. The disbursement has to be in by December 21st. Okay? but they have to be fully approved the following day by 6 p.m.
Okay, so fully approved by December 22nd,
Yes,
but we have to submit them by the 21st. Got it.
ma'am. Okay, let's see, the next question. That answer, will ACCD commitments for P32 be set up as projects by CGA, or will the department need to do this? Okay. We're still working on the training grants, okay, with respect to commitments. Okay, training grants have some very particular requirements. And honestly, I haven't had time to really delve into them and see how they could be set up in Oracle. So I would, you know, like if, I'm sorry, I might mispronounce your name, Nadash. If you want, communicate with me and we can take one of your cases and try to simulate it in Oracle. I really appreciate that because that will help me also to learn more about your requirements.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so just send me an email and we'll touch base with it. Okay. Yes, well, okay. And I'm sorry for bringing it up, you know, giving this presentation, but I wanted this presentation to be as soon as possible in order for you to be able to start working on it. Because if I gave you this presentation in, let's say in October, your feeling would be more of desperation than say, okay, I have to worry about it. So let's move on. Aggie Enterprise is a good system, and we can, well, that will make the administration and the university much better if all of us collaborate and make sure that the data goes to Oracle in the best manner. Have a good day.
Thank you, Francisco. So again, as Francisco said, we would talk about this as time passes, before all of this would become, I mean, before November, I'm sure we would talk about it again in the coming forums. But from my point of view, operation of sponsored programs is not going to change at all. Proposals, as Francisco said, proposals are not affected by this process at all. Awards are obviously to some extent affected, but not our work. In sponsored programs, you would go forward as usual. You probably know that when we finish an award in sponsored programs and everything is documented in CAIUS that the process is completed, overnight, the information is transferred to contracts and grants accounting. So for example, for any award which is completed today, after the midnight, which is technically tomorrow, emails would go to, through the system, information would be transferred electronically to contracts and grants. And that's when they know we have finished the award, and the process starts there for whatever they setting the account and so on and so forth starts there. So our process would continue as usual. So what I understand from these discussions is that in the period, which is quote unquote the blackout period, again, we would do exact same thing. Let's say, for example, looking at the dates, I'm going to pick one of the dates in the middle. Let's say we are on December 1st, which is in that blackout period. And award is completed in sponsored programs on December 1st, midnight, right at the beginning of December 2nd. All of the information is electronically transferred to accounting, but they would not be able to do anything with that till January the 3rd. So things would sit somehow in a queue there till they would start working on it to move it forward. Again, our operation sponsored programs is the same. Nothing is changed. Does it make sense? Is there any questions about that before we go to the next thing? Okay, good. Thank you again. Thank you, Francisco and our accounting team. Let's start from, our updates from here. How about proposal? Kelly, do you want to talk about updates in proposal?
I do. I also want to let you know I'm going to do the awards update this morning as well because Grace needed to step away for another meeting. Good morning, everybody. I have just a couple of announcements for proposals to start us off. The first update is that, as you all are likely very well aware, the official summer season is quickly approaching, and that means staff vacation. I know we have several people that have already requested time off in SPO, and I'm sure you do in your departments too. So with that said, I highly encourage everyone to submit their proposal packages to SPO as early as possible to ensure that we have ample time to do a thorough and complete review and keep the process moving as seamlessly as possible. As a reminder, we do request 5 business days for a full review, but if you give us extra days, that's always a bonus. The next thing I wanted to talk to everybody about regarding proposals actually is a Cayuse topic. We noticed last week that we have several aging IPFs that are stuck in department approval and process status. And the reason I say stuck is some of them are actually very, very old, a year or more old. So what we are asking everybody to do is please go into Cayuse and take a look in your My Proposals queue or in your department proposal queue to check to see what may be aging. On June 1st, we're going to go in and, in an effort to keep the Cayuse records as clean as possible, move everything that's 30 days or more past due into unsubmitted status. If you have any questions about that or need help locating your department IPFs that may be aging, please email us at proposals@ucdavis.edu. We'll be happy to take a look with you or walk you through that process. On the awards front, Grace asked me to share that if you've already routed an IPF for an after-the-fact award, but the award has not yet been assigned to an analyst, and you have any updated documents, please upload those updated documents into the routed IPF. This applies to updated budgets or new agreement drafts that the sponsor may have shared with you. With that said, does anybody have any questions for us on the proposals or award side?
Thank you, Kelly.
Okay.
Regarding the meeting deadlines and so on and so forth, and Kelly talked about sending us information timely. Please also note that aside from vacations that everybody is entitled to take, we do have a lot of vacancies in the office here. Right now we have 7 or 8 vacant positions. Depending on the day, these things might change. Having 7 vacancies out of roughly 40 people, that's like 18% vacancy. So what I'm trying to tell you is that there are, the projects, proposals, awards, or whatever, are, they might get delayed. So you have to, help us not to miss deadlines. Definitely the awards, negotiations of the awards, are being affected because we don't have enough people to work on the projects. So things are taking longer time. I'm sure you know in the department, you have the same type of issues. I know lots of departments, they don't have enough people, but so that's where we are, unfortunately. And there's not a whole lot anybody can do about it. We have to work together. And there are going to be times that, unfortunately, maybe some deadlines cannot be attained, and we would miss some deadlines. That's the fact of life right now. Any questions for any of us? I think we took care of all of the updates. Perry made a correction to what I said regarding the slides that the presentation of Francisco. Perry is going to have them. It's in the chat. There is a URL in the chat that's where Perry is going to upload the slides. So there won't be any need for me to send them via listserv then. So tell us if you can't access that website, and we would send you the slides. Any other issue that anybody wants to talk about? I don't see anything new in the chat. Let's see. Yeah, I don't see anything new. This is your time. Remember, it's your time to ask questions, not only from central offices, but maybe compare notes with your colleagues and learn about the best practices or whatever you want to talk about. I don't see anything else. So it's 9:30. If there's nothing else, we can stop the meeting. Thank you. See you next.